Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome once again to another insightful program, which we have entitled Reporting and Implementing Corrective Actions. This presupposes that we have already conducted the HR audit, and it's now time for us to declare the findings, the various stakeholders, for their own use or decision making. The reporting is very important because it tells us what is going on in our organization and how we are doing our things, particularly in the HR department. We are putting the report out there, not because we want to expose our weaknesses, but because we want to be accountable for the things that we do as HR managers. And this is in the spirit of being transparent and being open to scrutiny for purposes of improving our policies, our processes, as well as our systems, which will go a long way in enabling the organization to achieve its strategic objectives. The report contains corrective actions. These are the recommendations that are made to address the weaknesses and the gaps that have been found during the audit. And these gaps relate to the various areas of audit. And if we were to do a functional audit, so the corrective actions could relate to all the functions that we mentioned, starting with recruitment and selection, training and development, performance management, health and safety, among others. The corrective actions, as I will demonstrate, should be actionable. Actionable because they are specific on what is to be done. There is a person responsible for the implementation, and there are clear guidelines on the timelines within which the corrective actions will be implemented. And implementing this corrective action means that to actualize the recommendations, that unless we implement a recommendation, it will just remain a recommendation on paper. It is when we implement anything is when we achieve results. And if we want good results arising from the audit, we should implement the corrective actions. When we implement, there are three things that we are likely to do. One is to allocate resources. Two is assign duties. And three is to monitor progress. When we allocate resources, we are thinking about three resources, as it were. One, financial resources. Two, physical resources. And three, human resources. That unless we allocate resources, nothing moves. Because some of the actions that we are recommending require allocation of resources. For example, if we we find out that employee records are kept manually, which takes a long time to retrieve, a recommendation could be we automate the filing system. That automation requires financial resources. And that is why I'm saying implementing a corrective action may require some resources. And even then, when we are talking about resources, there's the human aspect, the human resource. So who will be in charge of these computers or technologies that we are buying so that we can automate our records? That is the person. And lastly, the physical resource. It could be an office, or it could be a desk where these computers could be placed. And that requires physical resources. So what are we going to cover in this program this morning in relation to reporting and implementing corrective actions? And this is the scope of our topic today. We shall have a detailed look at the concept of corrective actions. What are corrective actions? What are their purposes? Who will be responsible for this? And who will be the audience for these corrective actions? So speaking of corrective actions, it's about the actions that are to be taken to improve our situation or to solve a problem. Or in some cases, take advantage of an opportunity. And I will demonstrate this, that in many cases, we focus on the problem and we miss out on opportunities. Secondly, we will be looking at how we can effectively present our audit findings. An effective audit finding is one that has all the ingredients that are required for it to be implemented. That an effective presentation of findings may lead to poor implementation. And that is why we are saying that when we are presenting our findings, they should be effective in terms of the scope, the objectives, clarity of findings, and lastly, review. It must contain all the necessary sections and also the language that is used and the structure as well. Thirdly, we are going to look at the structure of the audit report. I am aware that all of us have our own structure that we use. After this presentation, perhaps you can compare what you have and what I will have presented. If your structure cannot be changed, you can only identify insights from this presentation so that you can integrate or include it in your own reporting structure. I will mention several sections that are contained in a good audit structure so that one, we appear that we are very systematic, and two, for consistency. The other topic or area we are going to look at is how to develop corrective action plans. That yes, we have corrective actions, but we also need to plan on how we are going to operationalize the plans. So this plan will contain several elements, starting with the area that is being covered, 2, the persons responsible. 3, the risks that are involved. 4, the resources required. And 5, the timelines. Like I have just mentioned, a corrective action must be actionable. So we want to make sure that the corrective actions are actionable by way of developing a plan. And then we will be looking at the best practices in reporting, and the best practices are those that are acceptable and have been proved to be working, not only for us, but also in other organizations. So best practices are usually picked by way of benchmarking with the other organizations that have conducted similar exercises. So we'll be looking at some of the best practices, like the language that we are using, the structure, and the mechanisms of providing feedback. And lastly, we'll be looking at the challenges in reporting and implementing. Remember, we are talking about reporting and implementing corrective actions. So what are the challenges in reporting particularly, and what are the challenges in implementing? There are different challenges when you are reporting. Probably you do not have the right tools. 2, you do not have the support of the team that you are working with. Or 3, the language barriers. But when you are implementing, because I said implementation has to do with 3 things. 1, resources. 2, is assignment of duties, and 3, monitoring progress. So challenges will arise from any of the 3, like lack of resources, especially financial resources. 2, lack of expertise to implement these corrective actions. Or 3, failure to monitor or review this process. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the 6 key areas we are going to discuss in this program this morning. I will go to our introduction. And in our introduction, I've said that in every organization, HR audit acts like a mirror. Sorry. I have deliberately used the word mirror for purposes of illustration. All of us have used mirrors before. And these mirrors reflect the reality of who we are. And what do we use the mirrors for at a personal level? 1, it is self-awareness, that we get to see what is on us just like others see us. What is on us just like others see us. For example, the way we are dressed, or the way we appear, or the way we look. So why do we need to be self-aware? It is because we want to reflect a positive image of what we are, so that what we see in the mirror is what others could see. So that reflection identifies any mistakes in our appearance or errors, and then we take corrective action. The same happens with organizations, that this report is a mirror of what has been going on, whether good or bad. So we start with mirroring the HR department in terms of policies, in terms of systems, and in terms of processes. How well are they working? which of them needs urgent attention. Secondly, we use mirrors for grooming and appearance. Grooming, that your hair is well kept, your teeth do not have green vegetables, and you also want to look clean at the individual level. If we juxtapose that with the organization, we will see our own grooming. How well are the policies working? How well are the procedures and processes working? Do they look good on the face value of it? And when it comes to implementation, are they being implemented properly? So that when anyone comes to our department, we look organized, we look neat, and we look the best, or we always put the best foot forward. So the appearance of our policies, our systems, and our processes should be such that they are accurate, they are up to date, and they are working. And that is why we prepare reports on the three aspects that I've mentioned, on the policies, on the processes, and the systems related to all the functions that we discussed yesterday. Lastly, a mirror is a way of reaffirming our confidence, that it is a way of self-validation, that we have done the right thing in the right way, at the right time, and at the right places. Many of us have been to interviews, and when we appear before these panelists, we want to appear presentable and putting our best leg forward, from the way you dress to the way you talk. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we satisfy ourselves that we are looking the best, and that boosts our confidence. Talking of confidence, at the HR departmental level, we are looking at the confidence with which we talk or do our things when our policies, our practices, and our systems are working, that you can confidently talk about the HR function and how well it is doing. So when we are reporting, it is very important to reflect the reality of what is going on in our department. And that reality is presented in the form of an audit report. Secondly, I have indicated there that what truly drives improvement is how findings are reported, how corrective actions are implemented. Talking of how findings are reported, this is about the architecture of the report and the language that is used to convince the audience to buy into the actions that are being recommended. So if we have a clumsy presentation or a reporting, then even the attention could be clumsy. So we should be careful when we are making our reports so that we appear to be professional, focused, and problem-solving driven. That we want to solve a problem or take advantage of an opportunity. So reporting here is very important, and how we report will make the difference. On corrective actions, I have indicated that how corrective actions are implemented will make a difference. How do we implement the corrective actions? We implement them based on, one, the impact of the risks, and two, the importance of the opportunities that we have identified. So we can implement action plans depending on the urgency or the priority that we are making with respect to the risks, or the opportunities that we can take advantage of to improve our systems, our processes, and policies. Again, I've indicated there that reporting should tell a clear story, inform decisions, and promote accountability. Allow me a minute to talk about a story. Through reporting, we are telling a story of our department in HR, the story of where we are, the story of where we have come from, and the story of where we are going. Particularly, we will be telling stories about our policies. We will be telling stories about our levels of compliance. We will be telling stories about our strengths. And we will also be telling stories about our weaknesses and the story of the gaps that we have found out in our audit. And this story must be very clear, because if we are not clear in our stories, then there is a problem that nobody is going to buy into our claims. So the story must be clear to us as well as to our audience. Particularly the story of the functions of HR, be they recruitment, training, performance management, and others. We should tell the story of what we are doing in those functions, how we are doing them, where we are doing them, the challenges we are telling, and the opportunities that exist. By telling these stories, we will be able to convince others that this story is worth reading, and that this story will be a game changer if it is implemented based on the corrective actions. So that story is what we are reporting here. What are the activities we are undertaking? What are the challenges? What are the weaknesses? What are the gaps? So that as we make those recommendations, we are based on facts. So the story is going to be based on facts. And as they say, facts do not lie. Secondly, that reporting informs decision making. That a report contains those recommendations, which are called corrective actions. Those recommendations are the options from which the management may pick in terms of priority for purposes of implementation. So we make decisions because of the story that we have told about the risks we are facing the gaps that exist. And the decisions are based on priority. So what will inform the priorities? I've just mentioned that we give priority on those pressing issues related to the policies, the systems, and processes. For example, we find out that the deductions or filing system is not accurate, particularly in relation to compensation. That should be given a priority because of the impact it may have in an organization. So a subject or an issue that is critical is given priority and therefore informs the decisions that we make. And lastly, we talk of accountability. It's about being responsible for two things or three. One, the resources that we use. Two, the behavior of our employees. And three, our own behavior. All these have consequences. The resources we use, the behavior of our employees, and our own behavior have consequences. And we should be answerable for the consequences. So being accountable has to do with being responsible for the consequences, meaning that we should own the results of what we do. Reporting is a way of demonstrating our accountability. That there are things that we have done well, and there are others that have not been done well. So we are owning these findings. And that when we are presenting the findings to the rest of the organization, we stand by what we have found out and that we are ready to make improvements. So accountability is very key, especially when it comes to reporting and taking corrective actions. The other area is talking about translating the corrective actions into real, timely, and proper improvements or meaningful improvement. That reporting on its own is not enough. Implementation is what will change the game. That if we want any meaningful improvement, we should be able to translate those recommendations into results. And we can only get results if we implement those actions. So improvements may take many shapes. One, modifying a policy, a system, or a process. Two, improvement may also mean changing that policy, that process, or that system. Or three, improvement could mean completely removing that policy or system or process. Why do we completely move or remove it? It is because it is no longer working based on the audit report and that it is obsolete. So anything that is not working at all or is obsolete, we have no luxury of time and resources to keep it around. We must remove it. So if it's a policy that is outdated, we strike it off from our records and create a new one. So improvements will only come if we translate the corrective actions into results. And the results are seen in the way we have improved our systems and processes. Lastly, I have indicated that successfully reporting and implementing these actions will lead to several things. One, stronger systems. And I'm talking about systems like performance management system, human resource information system, knowledge management system, or even training and development systems. Because our system has many components that work together in harmony to achieve a set objective. So stronger systems are those that are delivering the intended results. So if it is performance management system, it should be able to deliver results. If it's a human resource information system, which is not working, after the audit, the recommendations should make suggestions on how it can be made to work. So we want a results-oriented system where we realize results because it is working or it is functional. Secondly, that those recommendations or corrective actions enable us to comply in a better way with the labor laws, our own policies, or industry standards. Better compliance. That compliance, as we had mentioned, have repercussions on an organization in the form of fines and penalties. That we can easily avoid these risks if we can make our systems, our policies, and our processes compliant. That adherence to the labor laws and other standards will make us better because we shall not lose money unnecessarily because of things that we can easily avoid. And lastly, when we make audit reports and make corrective actions, our systems are likely to be more resilient. Resilience has to do with the ability to withstand shocks or crises. And in many cases, we face crisis, and sometimes we don't have a solution to the crisis. But we will thank ourselves if we conduct these audits effectively and make actionable recommendations so that our employees as well as our systems can be resilient. They are able to withstand shocks or survive when there is a crisis. And I'm thinking of crisis like resignation of a large number of employees. So if you have such kind of crisis, what will be your action plan? You will have adequately prepared people to succeed those who leave. Because if you had a weak system of succession planning, after the audit, you will have discovered that this can be a risk in case people leave the organization. So you will have prepared enough people to take over those positions. So resilience must be inbuilt in our policies, in our systems, so that we are able to stand tall even in the face of crisis. So that is briefly what we are going to look at with respect to reporting and taking corrective actions. How can we define corrective action plan? By definition, we say that this is a document. This document shows how a problem or an opportunity will be corrected or taken advantage of. As we conduct these HR audits, we will be able to identify several issues. One is, for example, a policy that is not working or has become obsolete. That becomes an issue because we may not know how to approach a certain condition in the absence of a policy. And for that reason, we need to develop an action plan to address that gap in the policy. Or it could be our filing system, that there is no accurate filing of employee data. So what happens is that we make mistakes when it comes to compensation, promotion, or even training, because certain documents are missing from the employee files. That becomes an issue. So these issues require corrective action. Sometimes we also have opportunities that we may have a system that is working, but we can make it better. For example, we have an automated system of filing, and then an opportunity presents itself. Which opportunity is this? Filing the documents in a cloud system like Google Drive, so that the files are secure and that unauthorized access is prevented. So that becomes an opportunity. Or our employees are qualified, for example, in ICT, and an opportunity presents itself of cybersecurity. So we train these employees on cybersecurity so that they can enhance their skills. So when we talk of an action plan, we are looking at the issues that have been discovered during the audit and taking measures to correct them. So correction is rectification or improvement of the situation in an organization related to all the functions that we mentioned, like recruitment. There could be an issue. Training, there could be an issue. Maybe you are not monitoring training and development. That is an issue which needs to be corrected. So the action plan will show the issues and the actions that should be taken. What are the components of the action plan for purposes of understanding? There are several, and I will demonstrate this towards the end of this presentation. One, these are the steps. The steps are the actions that have been recommended. The corrective actions are in the form of those recommendations. So if it is training for ICT because of cybersecurity, you recommend a training so that they can acquire skills and knowledge on cybersecurity. Or if it is poor onboarding during recruitment, we propose, or the step could be to take action on onboarding, and these are specific actions like extending the probation, rather not probation, but the onboarding period. If it was very short, you increase the period. Or if there were certain tasks that were not completed, I remember we mentioned this yesterday in relation to onboarding, completion rate, that some employees do not complete their onboarding. So what action can you take? Those are the steps. And then secondly is the people responsible. And that is what I said when it comes to implementation of these actions or corrective measures, that we must assign duties to people so that we know exactly who is responsible for what. So if it is a filing problem, that there is no accurate filing, we can assign this responsibility to a HR officer. Or if it is a problem existing in our human resource information system, probably it is not working. Who is responsible? We push it to ICT because these are the people who know how to handle information systems. Or if it is non-existence of a policy, for example, neurodiversity policy, who will be responsible? It is the HR manager, because HR managers are responsible for policy formulation. Another component is the timelines, that is the deadline. That those action plans must be implemented within a specified period of time. And again, this depends on the risks and priorities that we identified. If an action plan or an audit report showed that there are certain critical risks that exist in the organization that require immediate action, then we should shorten the timelines for implementation. For example, system failure. A system like a document management system, that people are not able to retrieve certain documents, or even if they try to retrieve, it comes in bits and pieces. Because of the risks involved, the timelines must be short. There is no waiting time. So in such a case, for example, today is 4th or 3rd, the action should be taken like immediately. So there is no waiting time. It must be done now if we have to move forward. But if it's a policy which cannot be done now, we give ourselves time. For example, we can give ourselves 90 days to develop a policy on neurodiversity. 90 days is adequate time to develop a policy because it requires consultation with other stakeholders. And by the time we come up with a clear policy, a bit of time will have lapsed. So those are the key components of corrective action plans, which we are going to look at in the form of a matrix or a template. Another way of understanding the action plan is clarity. Clarity in terms of the causes of the problem and the resources required, the root cause. I will be discussing with us some of the methods that are used to identify the root cause. One example is the 5 whys. The word why, W-H-Y. So you ask why 5 times. For example, I've indicated an issue like inaccurate filing system. So the first question is, why do we have the inaccuracy in the filing system? If the answer is lack of a system, then you ask the second why. Why is there a lack of a system? And if you say that the lack of that system is because of lack of a budget, and then you ask another third why don't we have a budget? And then on the budget, you ask another why is the budget not adequate? And then you go to the root cause. It is because of probably government policy beyond which you can't go. So with the government policy that says that this budget is adequate for you, you may not have a way out because you will have hit a dead end, and that becomes the root cause. And then you have to adjust your budget so that you can accommodate that in the action plans that you recommend. So the root cause analysis must be clear so that we avoid dealing with symptoms. For example, at a personal level, you have a headache or you have a rumbling stomach. Many of the cases, we rush to the chemists and do over-the-counter purchases like Panadol or any other drug. We are simply treating symptoms. A headache is caused by something else. So even in HR audit, we should be careful not to be treating symptoms. We must go to the root causes of those problems, and that is how we can be successful in our reporting. And then secondly, clarity of resources. We must specify which particular resources are required. I mentioned 3 resources. 1, financial resources. So if it's purchase of a computer, we need a budget for that, financial resources. 2, another resource required is human resources. If it's a policy to be formulated, we need human resources to formulate that policy. And these people must be qualified in policy formulation. And being qualified means that they have the relevant skills, they have the relevant knowledge, and the relevant experience. So that is the second one in terms of resources, being specific in terms of human resources. And lastly is the physical resources, things that are tangible. If it's an office that is required, for example, you have discovered that you do not have a data protection office. So you need to create an office for these people who will be managing our data. So an office is a physical resource, and we must be specific that the action plans we are recommending, there are those resources that are required specifically to address those action plans. The second last aspect related to understanding of action plan is the objective. I have clearly indicated there, our focus should be on prevention. Even in healthcare, we focus on prevention rather than treatment. What does it take for us to prevent? It's about being proactive. And HR audits afford us an opportunity to be proactive. And that enables us to see things in advance and taking corrective actions now. Corrective action now. So that we prevent a problem from occurring or losing an opportunity. So prevention is better than cure. In any plan that we prepare, there is always a projection into the future, and that requires that we prepare ourselves adequately so that we do not face an uncertain future. So I've also indicated that prevention is important because some of us want to find quick fixes. So we are not fixing issues within a short time. We are looking for solutions. Some of the solutions take longer, others take a shorter time. Because if you focus on containing an issue, we are simply treating the symptoms or just an iceberg that we are seeing. For example, somebody might be complaining about the health conditions in the organization. And instead of looking at the root cause or the underlying factors, you treat that issue casually. And if it's Ondari, Ondari is my name, if it's Ondari complaining, you deal with Ondari. That Ondari is always complaining and you transfer me to another section. You have not solved a problem. What you have done is to postpone a problem, but the bigger part of the iceberg is under the water. Just like, allow me, if you may allow me, barricading Parliament with those razor wires is just cosmetic. We have not addressed the issue of these young people. What are they looking at? What is the real problem? So putting razor wires anywhere, even at our own homes, why should we so be afraid with our societies or with the people that we deal with? So the objective of any action plan is to prevent and not to fix symptoms. So what is the function of these corrective actions? I have indicated that it's a blueprint for taking corrective actions and tracking. A blueprint is a guide or is a model that this action plan guides us on what should be done, that's the corrective action, why it should be done because there's a problem, when it should be done because of the priorities, who will do it because of accountability, and what resources are required. So that blueprint helps us to make these recommendations actionable. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we can say about the concept of corrective action. Corrective action. Why corrective actions matter? There are several reasons why we need to take corrective actions. One, compliance, which we have discussed comprehensively, because of the attendant consequences of not complying, like fines and penalties. We need to take corrective actions. For example, a policy that is lacking on information related to diversity, it is a compliance issue. So when we take corrective actions, we are complying. Secondly, is about cost control, money. Money is a scarce resource, and we should be careful to utilize it efficiently. There are several policies, systems, or even processes that can cost money unnecessarily. So we take corrective actions in order to control costs. For instance, in health and safety, it is a requirement to give people working in a factory PPEs, that is personal protective equipment. In the absence of this equipment, employees are likely to be injured or fall sick, and it will cost us money taking them to hospital or compensating them if they are injured. So taking corrective actions also helps us to contain costs by way of taking those corrective actions. Thirdly, corrective action is about efficiency. Efficiency in our operations and even efficiency in our expenditure. Allow me to talk about expenditure, for example, in training and development. We spend a lot of money as organizations to train our employees. And in many cases, if you look at the training budget, it's one of the largest or biggest. That is money involved. That is time involved. That is productivity involved when people are away for training. And then we discover during the audit that we do not evaluate the effectiveness of our training, which means that we are training people for fun. Why fun? They go out there, enjoy themselves if it's a hotel, and come back. They do not share what they have learned in terms of skills, knowledge, and experiences. So we shall have wasted that opportunity for training. because the training cannot translate into tangible results if it is not evaluated. That is one. Two, coming to operations, that sometimes we may have operational breakdowns. That is in terms of processes. You are in a factory, a machine has stopped working. You look around for the technician is not there, either because he's away on sick leave or for any other reason. So what happens? The production stops, a customer waits, and that is a cost to the organization. When you walk back to the causes of this breakdown, you will find that there was nobody to replace the technician who is away. Where does the buck stop? The supervisor in charge of the operations, as well as the HR manager. Because for any particular position, we should have a suitable replacement, somebody who is qualified to do the fixing. So sometimes we have breakdowns which we have to fix. Breakdowns in production or processes like recruitment or training or performance management. We may have a breakdown in any of those activities. So when we do an audit, we are able to identify those breakdowns and take corrective actions. And that is why corrective actions matter, to ensure efficiency, that there are no interruptions in our processes, there are no unnecessary costs, and there are no delays. Accountability is about being responsible for what is being done. That corrective actions matter because we want to be accountable for the things that we do. Accountable for training, accountable for recruitment, and accountable for employee relations. So if we are accountable, we identify those weaknesses and gaps and take corrective actions. And in that way, we encourage continuous improvement. So if we do HR audits, we will identify corrective actions on a continuous basis, and that will ensure that we always improve on our weaknesses or bridge those performance gaps. The other issue is the element of trust in relation to corrective actions. For example, a conflict has arisen and the managers take a long time to resolve it. And that becomes an audit query when we are conducting HR audits. If conflicts persist, then we are likely to lose on several things. One, productivity. And two, employees. Employees want to work in a peaceful environment where there are no conflicts. And if there are many conflicts, that environment becomes toxic. And the next thing they do is to walk out of the organization. When conflicts are resolved on a timely and fair basis, the stakeholders, especially the employees, develop confidence in the management that the right things are being done at the right time. So trust is important because it builds confidence in the stakeholders. And who are these stakeholders? I will mention a few of them. One, the employees trust the process of auditing. That yes, they have identified the real issues and those actions address the pain points. That develops confidence in them. The second stakeholder is the senior management. We report to senior managers. And when we identify issues and take corrective actions, present a report to them, then they will say, yes, the human resource manager is doing his or her work. And they will be confident that you are on top of your game. And if there are any issues that may arise, you are able to address them. So basically, those are some of the reasons why corrective actions matter. That if we take corrective actions, the 5 things will happen. We comply and therefore avoid compliance risks. 2, we optimize our costs so that we don't lose money. 3, we optimize our resources by being efficient. 4, we demonstrate the level of accountability as HR managers. And last, we create trust. I want to invite us now to ask any question and also to ensure that we are also there and that we are following. So anybody with a question in relation to our introduction, in relation to corrective action plan, and lastly, why corrective actions matter. So you are free to ask a question or make a comment. My brother Aden, how are you today? If you are there, you can ask a question or make a comment.
Mr. Andrew, good morning and good morning, everyone. I think we are good. We are doing it well.
Oh, thank you, Aden.
Yes,
Priscilla. Somebody was on the line, go on. Okay. Priscilla, you have a question or comment to make? Janet, I heard your voice yesterday. Make a contribution. Jonathan, you are always the first to appear on our screens.
Thank you. Maybe just a comment.
Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm really following keenly, and this has really made me to realize that auditing is not just a simple thing, but something that need a lot of details and a lot of investment as well, so that we get the right results. So in terms of compliance, that's something that I've really learned, and how audit can help us to be able to be on the safer side, especially on the legal matters.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Yes, you are right that to conduct an audit is not a walk in the park. It takes investment in terms of time, money, and effort. That if we are able to do this right, then the dividends are sweet, and we shall be confidently walking around with our heads high that we have fixed our issues and we are in a journey to success. So thank you very much. If there is no other question, I want us to move to the next slide, and that is...
Sir,
yes. Yes, sir.
As you said, I believe that a well-documented corrective action plans also enhance accountability and transparency during audit, which is a key for continuous improvement and compliance monitoring.
Yes, you are very right that in all this process of HR audit, there is the element of documentation. And this documentation enhances our accountability. We need to invest a lot of our time and effort to ensure that this audit works, particularly in terms of accountability. As HR managers, we are accountable for what happens in our departments. Like I had mentioned, accountable for the behavior of our employees. If there is misbehavior, we take corrective action. If it is stagnation of employees, we take corrective action. Or if it is conflicts, we take corrective action. So all these relate to accountability, that when we take corrective action, we are owning the problem and are ready to solve it. So the solutions are the corrective actions, and that is why it matters. It matters more when we succeed as a department in delivering our mandate. Thank you very much, Adam. And with that, we move to the next part, which is what to report after an audit. What is this that we report on? There are quite a number of things that we report on. I've identified 5, and I will invite any contributions if you have more. One is issue identification or description. I have said earlier that an issue is either a problem or an opportunity. So when we conduct an audit, we identify those 2 things, a problem or opportunity. And what is our responsibility in this issue description? We must be clear on what the problem is or what the opportunity exists. Clearly explaining a problem shows what has happened, how it has happened, and what are the consequences. For example, having a poor record system, it should have a cost. What caused that? Is it training, lack of trained personnel? Is it lack of resources? Or people are just careless? And what are the possible outcomes or impact of that problem? So it should be very clear to us what the problem is. And as I have indicated, we should run away from treating symptoms. Just like we do it in academic research, that there must be a problem statement. This is not just a sentence. This is a detailed exposé of what the issue is. It could be 1, 2, or even 3 pages, depending on the level of the academic program. So we are not going to identify symptoms and pretend that we are solving a problem. So the issue must be described clearly, and anybody reading or listening to our presentation when reporting is able to clearly say, yes, we have a problem. For example, people leaving an organization, you say, we have a big problem, employees are exiting. That is not a problem. The problem are the causes of the exits and the impact that employees have exited because of ABCD, and as a result, we have become uncompetitive. So being uncompetitive is where the problem lies. Because when you are not competitive, 2 or 3 things will happen. One, you are not generating enough revenue. 2, you have lost your market because you are not competitive. So thinking of losing a market or declining revenue, that should worry everybody, including the junior employees. Because the moment an organization is not performing, several things will happen. One, scaling down by way of retrenchment. Because there's no work to be done, the revenues are not there to pay them. Or secondly, closure. An organization risks closure if it cannot perform or it cannot compete successfully. So we should be clear on the issues that we are addressing. It must be an actual problem, not imagined, because we have data that we have collected from the audit. So the report should identify the real issues that the organization is facing, particularly in the HR department. Secondly, we report on the scope. These are the areas that we set out to audit. And each area should be reported separately. For example, in our findings, and we have a functional audit, we should have those areas clearly marked out. In recruitment, you report your findings. In training, you report your findings. In performance management, you report your findings. So you cover all the areas that you audited. And in this coverage, you'll be talking about what was found out, what are the issues, what is the cause of the issue, what do you recommend, and who should be responsible for all the areas. And this is where reporting becomes interesting. That without those details, it becomes difficult to take action, because there is nothing much that you can write home about if the report is scanty. So be as detailed as possible when it comes to scope, covering all the areas. If it's compliance that you wanted to look at, and you have a compliance checklist in performance management, in training, in recruitment, you will identify those areas that are weak and then recommend actions to be taken. And then there's the element of risk impact. Impact are the consequences, either short or long term, that if no action is taken. So in your reporting, you should be able to identify risks in all the areas that you have audited. How? For example, you may say that this is just an example, that the audit established that there is a policy on recruitment and selection, but it is not actioned as required. This can be attributed to lack of monitoring and evaluation of the recruitment policy. This has led to poor hires, which has affected performance. It is recommended that the policy be reviewed and monitored on a quarterly basis to improve recruitment and selection of qualified employees. That's just an example. In that statement, I have indicated the impact. The impact is that we have hired low quality people who are not performing. And that is a risk. So if you hire low quality people who are not performing, then you are in real trouble. So in your reporting, be clear on the risks that you have identified and how the risks affect the organization. And this is what you are going to use in order to prioritize the action plans for implementation. That if the risks are very high, the priority should be higher as well. Fourthly, we report on policy status. Like we all know, most of our actions are guided by a policy. And we should be able to find out the status of our policy in terms of two things. One, existence. Does our policy exist? Or two, weaknesses. What weaknesses exist in this policy? Three, implementation. Are the policy guidelines being implemented as they are, or some of them are being ignored? So policy status looks at several things. One, existence, does it exist? If it doesn't exist, that becomes a gap. And if it exists, how is it implemented? Is the whole policy being implemented, or managers choose what to implement and what not? And three, are there gaps in this policy? And you could also look at many other aspects related to policy, and that tells us the status. And then lastly, we report on actions to be taken. What actions should be taken are now the corrective measures, corrective actions. And these are usually in the form of recommendations to address the issue that we have described in point 1. And as I have insisted, and allow me to emphasize, please ensure that the actions that you recommend are actionable. If you listened to my example, I said that the policy should be reviewed and monitored by the HR manager by July 2027 or 2025. So that is a recommendation that is actionable because it shows who is responsible, what is to be done, and the timelines. Then who is to be reported to? Who to report to? I think there is a word that is missing in my title, who to report to. When we prepare an audit report, we can present this report to a number of people. Depending on the structure of your organization and the reporting relationship. All of us have our own structure. For example, in HR, we have several levels within that department. There is a HR officer, there is a HR manager, there is a HR director, and general managers. These are hierarchies within HR. So depending on the level at which this report is prepared, we can present the report to the relevant authorities. On the screen, we can see the chief executive. If the HR officer is reporting directly to the ED, the executive director or CEO, then we present this report to the CEO. Why do we present this report to him or her? It is because of strategy, implementation, as well as resource allocation. That the recommendations we make in this report require the support of the chief executive officer. And again, as a caution, please don't conduct HR audit without bringing the CEO into the loop, because you will be ambushing him or her with a report he or she is not aware about. So they should be aware that there was a process in place, the process is complete, and that within the scheduled time, the report will be made to him. So we report to the CEO. And again, as I will indicate, one of the characteristics of a good report or a good reporting is understanding of the audience. Who are we reporting to? The content, scope, and even language of presentation varies depending on who we are reporting to. So the chief executive officer is the final decision maker in most organizations. And if need be, we go to the board level for the final decision making. So the chief executive officer runs the organization on a daily basis. The board comes in when there are critical decisions to be made. Secondly, I've indicated the board of directors, which is the highest organ in most organizations, even in terms of ownership. This is where the owners of the organization sit. So we can make a presentation to the board of directors. And again, for the same reasons. One, to get their buy-in of the report, and also two, ask for resource allocations for implementing the action plans. Thirdly, and this is what Adansi had asked yesterday, how do we reconcile our audit report as HR and the other audit that we conduct? So we can also make a presentation to the audit committee. I believe in every organization we have audit committees which look at various aspects of the organization. It could be financial audit, it could be production audit, communication audit, and others. So if there exists a committee on audit, and now that we have done a HR audit, we can make a presentation for two reasons again. One, to harmonize our audit with other audit reports, harmonization. Or two, to integrate findings of our audits with the findings of other audits. And this requires teamwork and mutual understanding among the audit teams so that we are working for the benefit and success of the organization. Fourthly, the human resource director. And as I said, depending on the level at which the report is being prepared, so we report to the HR director, who could be the lead person in the HR department. The HR director reports to the CEO, or in some cases reports to the board, depending on your structure. So the HR director is accountable for what goes on in the department. Just like Adan mentioned this morning, that By preparing this report, we are demonstrating our accountability for the goings on in our departments. So the Human Resource Director receives this report and can give his or her input on one, gaps in the report, or two, areas of improvement. A senior management team, I've been to organizations where there are senior managers who could be derived or drawn from different departments like finance. You have a finance director, from ICT director, production director or manager. All these come together. And we can present this report during those senior management meetings. And as I indicated yesterday, this cross-functional teamwork is very important, especially when it comes to this audit. That all the managers should be involved in it, especially when we are developing career plans. If there are gaps in career plans, all the departmental managers come in to identify those employees who have the potential for promotion. So senior management team may receive this report so that they can also make their contributions or even ratify the audit report. And once ratified, then it becomes a document for all the senior managers, which can then be presented to the top management. That if the senior managers own this report, it gives the report a lot of weight when it is presented to the CEO or the board. The other person to whom we can report is compliance or quality assurance office. In some cases, we do an audit as a quality, as a quality assurance process. Because in the process of auditing, we identify quality issues related to policies, 2, practices, or 3, systems. So that when there are quality issues that have been identified, then we are able to work it out together with the quality assurance office. There is always an assumption that quality assurance office is responsible for the tangible goods only. For example, in a factory where goods are being produced, the quality office only looks at the product. Even in service organizations, we have quality assurance, and I'm sure all of us are aware of this office, that their work is to ensure that the customers are happy, both internal and external, by again looking at the processes, the policies, and the systems are adequate, are up to date, and are relevant. So that if there are any deviations from the standards, then corrective actions can be taken. For some organizations, you can invite Kenya Bureau of Standards as a quality assurance office to come and audit your system, but at a cost. So we need to comply with the quality standards And for service organizations, we are talking about quality standards related to 9001 or 2015. Lastly is the finance department. As I had indicated before, there is a lot that is related to money, especially the compensation and the benefits. That when we present an audit report, it may contain certain recommendations that have financial implications. And with the authorization of the chief executive, we may end up reviewing salaries and also adjusting them upwards. So the finance department should have this report, and this has been agreed upon and authorized by the CEO. And again, as I may have indicated, finance department together with the audit committee may do the audit. So when we present our reports, the finance department should also have this report. So these are the offices to which we can report or present our findings to. And how do we present our audit findings effectively? There are quite a number of things that we can do to make this presentation effective. One is knowledge of our audience. I've just indicated that we present this report to various people. This is our audience. The senior managers, mid-level managers, or peers across departments. So knowledge of this audience will help us to understand several things. One, their operations. What is it that they do? Two, their requirements. What is it that they want to hear? And that is why we say that tell your audience what they want to hear. But again, we don't want to please them. Present the facts that you have found out to them as they are, without modification. Because if you handle this process with kid gloves, it might boomerang on us. Let us present the facts as they are without massaging the figures. So knowledge of the audience helps us to, one, understand what they do, two, understand their requirements, and three, speak their language. And that is how we can tailor make our presentation. If it is a technical team, like production, we must understand who they are and the language they speak. If it is finance, we should also tailor make our presentation and style to suit their requirements. When we talk of presentation style, we may be referring to three things. One, a formal style of presentation, where we are writing this report in a formal template and then presenting it to the people. That is formal style. Secondly, there is an informal style, where we are representing these findings during a meeting, probably using projectors or PowerPoint like we are doing. that this is not anything that is scheduled, but we want to make this report for their general information. That is informal. Or 3, your presentation style could be audio visual, where a presentation is scheduled, like when you are having senior management meetings, and then you use audio visuals to make your presentation. That's a style. And then when you are making your presentations, be aware of the needs of your audience, 2, the language that you use, and 3, what they do. That shows understanding of your audience. Secondly, be clear and concise. In communication, one of the principles is clarity. Clarity helps us to understand concepts or issues. And if you look at what I've said there, we should avoid jargon. Jargon is complicated language which cannot be understood by the audience. You can only use jargon if the audience understands that language. So if you use jargon and Ondari does not understand that language, then you have not communicated. 2, we should not be complicated in our language, just like one of us in this country, particularly Patrick Lumumba, who uses this big language. Sometimes we lose him because we don't understand what he's saying. So we should bring our report findings to the level of our audience in terms of usage of our language. So be clear, that is simple and understandable. Do not use big words where simpler ones can do. And then being concise is addressing the issues precisely. Do not beat about the bush. Especially senior managers like CEOs do not have the luxury of time to read volumes of reports. What you do is to pick out key issues and present them to the CEO. Concise means being to the point without deviating. So be specific, go to the point, and address the points briefly without losing meaning. So clarity of your presentation will make it effective. The other aspect of effectiveness is the structure of your presentation. Yesterday, we talked about structuring our audit process by way of creating a framework that when we make a presentation, it should have a flow. And this flow is logical. That one aspect or heading leads to the next in a seamless way. So to give structure to our audit report, we need to think about the elements that should be contained in these reports and their flow from beginning to end. And again, I will project a sample structure of our audit report, starting with the title page, and then the table of contents, and then executive summary, and then of introduction. After the introduction is the terms of reference. Then after that, the objectives, the methods, the findings, recommendations, conclusions, and lastly, any appendices. This structure makes our presentation presentable. By presentable, I mean good looking. Nobody wants to look at a structure which is not appealing. 2, it makes us be orderly. HR managers are orderly people. We are not disorderly people. We are very organized. And by having a logical structure of presentation shows our level of orderliness. The other one is the use of visual aids like projectors or videos. This will enhance our presentation. Some of us are not good at remembering written text, but when we present visuals, we remember more. And these visuals are in the form of charts, like pie charts, or bar charts, or graphs, or dashboards where we are demonstrating a process. The other one is highlighting key issues and priorities that we can only appear to be effective if the issues come out clearly. Like I indicated, that when you are making your presentation, ensure that there is clarity of the problem. So the issues must come out clearly and the priorities must be there for purposes of action taking. And lastly, a good presentation is effective when we provide evidence and examples. In this presentation, I've also given examples where necessary. So in your presentation of the final audit findings, please ensure that you give an example. These examples may not be contained in the actual text, but you can give it as an appendix so as to show that what you are saying is supported by an example. And evidence is about data. We have always emphasized that our decisions should be based on data. So data is evidence of our findings, and this will form the basis of our decisions. Then actionable recommendations. I have indicated before that actionable recommendations are those that have these key characteristics. 1, the issue. 2, the person responsible. 3, the resources required. And 4, the timelines. To be effective, you also need to be objective and balanced. As I will demonstrate, audit is not an opportunity to point fingers. It is not an opportunity to blame others, but it is a fact-finding mission where we make a report based on our observations and the feedback we get from our respondents. So being objective means that you are not biased. And when you are biased is when you are pointing fingers. Being balanced means that you are giving both positive and negative reports or even feedback in a balanced way. That Where there are strengths, mention the strengths. Where there are weaknesses, mention them. That is when we shall appear to be balanced. Otherwise, if we focus on weaknesses and gaps only, then we are biased and are not balanced. So give credit where it is due, and that will be a mark of effectiveness in your presentation. I've indicated the use of non-blaming language. The last thing that you may have to do is to summarize and make follow-up, especially on the last aspect of reporting. Summarize that if somebody does not have the time to look at all the findings, we can capture them in a summarized way at the end of the report, and then make a follow-up that what needs to be done so that we can ensure continuous improvement. I indicated that I will be showing the structure of our audit, and there it is. This structure shows the key components of our audit report so that we are organized, we are consistent, and that we are purposeful. I mentioned the cover page. It will include the title, which is HR, Functional HR Audit. That's just an example, or a compliance audit or risk management audit. Then the organization, which organization are you working for? If you are a consultant, you will write the organization. You, even as an internal consultant, HR managers are internal consultants, you also write your own organization. The date of presentation should be there, so that when we are making a follow-up or a review, we know when this was done. And then if possible, who presented this report? The auditors or the authors of the report, prepared by the HR department. There's a tendency of personalizing reports, saying that prepared by the HR manager like Andrew Ondari. This is not your report. Please make it a team effort if need be, unless it's an individual report that you are making, prepared by the HR department, because this is a product of a team that went out into the field to do an audit. Then secondly, we have a table of contents, which shows which items are found on which page, so that it's easy to navigate. Sometimes relevant headings very quickly, and we go there. If we are interested in like performance management, we go directly to performance management and look at what has been found out and the recommendations, so that we don't waste time looking for information without a table of contents. Executive summaries is a summary of what has been found out, capturing the purpose. Why did we conduct this report or this audit? To the scope, what are the areas that were covered, the findings briefly, and the key recommendations. So that executive summary should not exceed a page, because if it's more than a page, then that is not a summary. In some cases, you are restricted, especially in an academic environment. It should be a half a page for quick reference to the purpose, scope, findings, and recommendations. One sentence for all this is enough. Then the introduction, which gives the background, objectives, scope, and audit methodology. So this gives an overview of what the audit report contains. Then the other aspect is the audit criteria. These are the measurements that we are using to audit the policies, the processes, and the systems. And we can also use documents and benchmarks. Benchmarks are best practices, where we are looking at the various functions and what are the best practices in the market. The other one is audit findings. What have we found out? And we do this per function. If there are 6 functions, recruitment, training, performance management, remuneration, employee relations, and health and safety, we make our findings in that order. And in the findings, we highlight strengths, weaknesses, gaps, and then recommendations, which I've indicated in this slide. Summary of key risks. We said that a good audit report should highlight risks and priorities. So what are the major risks that have been found in each of the functions? We said it's per function, so that we can dovetail our attention to those risks in the respective functions. So if there are risks in recruitment, we must highlight those risks. The same with the training, with performance management, health and safety. Then recommendations, and again, we do them per function. Recommendations are based on the 3 aspects that we mentioned. One is gaps. 2, weaknesses. And 3, challenges. A challenge may not necessarily be a weakness or a gap. A challenge could be something external. For example, lack of cooperation by top managers. That's not a weakness. It's a challenge that can be overcome. So we make recommendations per function based on the strengths, weaknesses, or challenges. The other content of this report is the action plan matrix. And I will be showing towards the end of this presentation what is contained in this template. So create a table of the findings showing the areas that have issues, the actions recommended, the persons responsible, and the timelines within which these actions must be taken. So again, action plan matrix provides a guideline on what should be done in the recommendations. Then conclusion, just like a summary of findings. A conclusion is not a summary, by the way. A conclusion is basically a statement of the causes of the issues that we have mentioned. If it is a policy that is lacking or is weak, what can we attribute that to? And many other areas. And lastly is the appendices. These are documents which could be in the form of photographs, in the form of flow diagrams, in the form of bulky documents, which cannot be contained in this audit report. We usually put them at the end for purposes of reference. So when we are making a presentation report, we should indicate in the report, within the report, like refer to Appendix 3. So that appendix provides additional information which could possibly interrupt the flow of your report. Otherwise, the report can be very bulky if we include all the photographs and any evidence within the report. It is preferable that you create a list of appendices at the end. so that if anybody wants to make a quick reference, this becomes evidence of what was found out. So that is what is contained in the report in terms of our structure and also effective presentation of our findings. So again, I want to invite us to make any comments or ask questions. So
hello.
Anybody? Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you.
Yes, thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
Personally, I've learned a lot, and there is a lot of refreshing in terms of what we are supposed to be doing and what we have been doing, and probably the challenges and presentations that we have been doing.
Yes.
My question here is on report writing.
Report writing.
From the onset, sometimes you have set the TORs, the terms of references, the strategic objectives of the audit process.
Yes.
But in the middle of the process, you discover something that was not covered in the TORs, which can be slightly off from the scope, not necessarily outside the scope, but something that you feel like you can amend the TORs from of the HR audit. So my question is, how do you deal with such an instance or occurrence? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Allow me to answer your question in 3 ways. One, from a project perspective, that a project is an undertaking that is conducted within a budget, within a specific period of time, and also within a scope. The key word there is scope, time, and budget. This HR audit is a form of a project that we are undertaking. It has the timelines. It is unique in its own way. It has resources, and it has a budget. In the event that you discover there is something very important that needs to be addressed during the audit, just like in projects, you should be able to make amendments. Because if you leave it out, it's going to affect the outcome of your audit and eventually affect the performance of your department. So how do you make these amendments? It is by consulting the key stakeholders. And the key stakeholders, as we have mentioned, are the audit committee, that is one. Two, the senior managers, asking for their permission to include this emerging issue. Or three, the board of directors, if they have to be involved. Because the moment you include an area which was not covered initially, it has financial implications and time, so that you miss your deadline in conducting this audit. So you should be able to make amendments in consultation with the key stakeholders. Number two, if you face this new issue, you can also highlight it in your findings and make recommendations. Highlight that and make recommendations. And mention that this was not part of the TOR, but it is key for the success or survival of the department. And then number 3, depending on the urgency or the risks involved, if it is something that can wait, it will form part of the next audit. So that aspect that has appeared, which was not in the TOR, can wait until the next audit. But again, if it can't wait, you can make a presentation to the relevant authorities so that when we are doing mid-term reviews, we should be able to include it so that we don't lose out if it's a critical element. So those are the 3 ways in which you can address that. Way number 1, seek authority from the relevant offices. Number 2, note it so that it can become a subject of audit in the next audit cycle. Or 3, in your mid-review, you can also include it so that we don't have to wait until the next audit. I believe I've answered your question.
Yes, sure. The question has been well answered because from experience, such occurrences happen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And Sangira, if you are there, you can ask a question. Okay. Kiptar Bay.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I don't have a question, sir.
Yes.
But I'm learning a lot. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that we are learning. So,
thank you, sir.
With that, I want to move to the next part, and that is characteristics of a good audit report.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. This is Robert.
Yes, Robert.
Yes, Robert, go ahead.
I'm looking at the structure of the audit report.
Yes.
And I wanted to be guided. Let's say, for example, last year I did an audit, or an audit was done, and part of the recommendations have been partially addressed. And now it's a new year, we are doing another audit. Where do we capture them in the audit structure?
Okay, thank you for your question. In the audit structure, you will include it in your TOR or objectives to be achieved, so that it is addressed during the current audit cycle. Otherwise, you will miss it out. If I may go back to the audit report, structure of the audit. So we are talking about the cover page, the executive summary, introduction. So if you look at the introduction, there is the element of objectives. I hope you can, Robert, you can see number 4. You look at objectives and scope. So if it is something that was not completed in the last cycle, it becomes part of the scope of the current or this year's audit. Otherwise, if you don't capture it as part of the scope, again, it will be left out for another time. So bring it up during the preparation or planning of the next audit, which is the current year, and include it there as part of your scope or a part of the objectives. Thank you. So if there's no further question, I want us to look at the characteristics of a good report. 1, it is issue specific. Do not deviate. Do not be so wordy, meaning that you are writing so much on an issue. Like I said, be direct, be precise, address the issues as they are. If it's a problem, highlight it as a problem. If it's the element of non-compliance, show that this is not compliance with the various labor laws. And then it should be action-oriented because we are here to solve problems. Or if not solving problems, taking advantage of opportunities. So in that case, our actions should be clear and practical. Practical because when you talk of SMART, S-M-A-R-T, specific, measurable, realistic, and time-bound, realistic. Anything unrealistic is impracticable, be it in terms of resources or in terms of capacity of the employees or even time. Then we cannot achieve the results intended if it's not practicable. Time-bound, we should create limits in terms of time, that everything we do is confined within a period of time. There's nothing that in the world that is done forever. There are time limits, and if we conduct this audit for a period of 3 months, therefore, even the report and the actions being recommended should be time-based. Accountability, we say that there must be people who will be implementing the action points. So we assign duties to those people, and if there are any challenges or issues that may arise, we know where to go to. The root cause, I have indicated before that a good report should highlight the causes of the problem. When we go to the causes, we avoid those symptoms which I mentioned. And then it should be measurable by way of determining a metric to evaluate its effectiveness. And again, as a rider, metrics are not necessarily quantitative. Some of them are qualitative. So we can use both quantitative and qualitative metrics to determine the effectiveness and the efficiency of our systems, processes, and procedures. What are the reporting channels? We can use a written report, which is commonly used in all our organizations. Why a written report? One, it becomes a source document in case we want to refer to it. Two, it can be used as evidence when we are making decisions going forward. And three, it can be used as a source of strategy formulation. That is why we need to have it written as a document, and it should form part of our database. Secondly, it can be management briefings. When we meet with other managers on a weekly or a monthly basis, we can make these presentations, and that becomes a reporting channel, face-to-face presentation. In other cases, we can use emails where we put this report as an attachment. And if we don't want to make it look bulky, we can only summarize it and send it through email. So that is a channel, and it's official and acceptable. We can also present or use audit committee meetings, like I indicated. Who do we report to or present this report to? We've mentioned audit committees. We can present it to them. And during those meetings, we can highlight our findings so that one, we can integrate the findings with the other audits, or two, present insights on other ways of conducting audit, particularly related to HR. We can also use dashboards. These are knowledge repositories where we post such kind of documents so that anybody can use them when and where possible. And lastly, we can have memos, follow-up memos to show updates or track the implementation of the action plans that we are proposing. Other channels include staff meetings. We regularly have staff meetings. We can present these reports to them. And again, this should be need-based, because not all contents of our report can be presented to the staff during those meetings. Intranet postings, there are some of us who have intranets where we have portals we can post, and these portals become reservoirs of documents such as HR audits. Workshops or debrief sessions. Debrief sessions are meetings where people are informed of what has been done, how, where, and when. And this gives us an opportunity to explain the findings of our report and the action plans that we have set to implement. In other cases, we have one-on-one feedback sessions where we meet with other people from different departments and sectors so that we present our findings. In other cases, we can publish the findings in our internal newsletters, and this forms part of the story, which I mentioned from the beginning. We need to tell our stories, and these stories can be captured in the form of internal newsletters. Board of Director reports, and these are highly summarized documents to present to the Board of Directors for ratification. How do we develop those action plans? One, as a requirement, we must understand the findings thoroughly. We are the ones who have conducted this audit, and therefore this should not be a problem. We must understand. Where we don't understand, we consult. Or where we don't have understanding or consulting, we do it again for clarification. Secondly, you prioritize issues based on the findings. And again, I said priorities are based on the risk levels. High risk and high impact is given priority. Low risk and low impact, we can have a wait and see stance. But in the waiting, please be monitoring. Don't wait and see and do nothing. Monitor. And then after prioritizing, you define the specific corrective actions. So if it is a filing system that is not working, what corrective actions should you take? Either you train or you automate. And again, the principle here is that you must be clear in your corrective actions, and the corrective actions should be measurable. Assigning responsibility, we have discussed this. There must be a particular person who will be accountable for the implementation of the corrective actions. And then the action plan template, which I will project here in a short while, so that we know the issues that were identified, the the corrective measures that were recommended, the person responsible, the resources required, and the timelines. So that template should be developed. And for those of us who have conducted these audits before, I believe you already have it. Probably you need to refine it if there is anything new that I will have presented. And then lastly, you define monitoring and follow-up methods. That how are we going to ensure that the implementation is going according to plan? So we can have monthly reviews or dashboards where we are asking queries on the progress. And lastly, we might have progress reports, either quarterly or midterm reports, as the case might be, so that we stay on track. What are the key elements of a corrective action plan? 1, problem description. 2, the root cause analysis, what is causing all this. 3, corrective actions recommended. 4, the people responsible. 5, the timelines, just like I have mentioned. Then required resources. And then lastly, the status. What is the current condition of, if it's a policy, is it being reviewed? Is it ongoing or has not started? So these components are the ones that we use in this template. I hope we can see the template from where we are. If you look at the headings, the audit area, for example, recruitment and selection, identify the gap. There is no standard job description. What is the recommended action? We develop standardized job descriptions. What is the priority? This is the risk area, very high, because without clear job descriptions, we run the risk of people not performing or even causing accidents. Who is responsible for this? The HR manager. And what are the timelines? By July 15th. I'm assuming that this should be done immediately, or this could have been done by May, so that we have adequate time to create this standard job description. These timelines are hypothetical, there's nothing real here. And then resources required, there is a budget. Status, it can be yet to start or is ongoing. And that is in line with what I've just mentioned. If you look at the left side on your computer, these are the components. The last element there is status. And this is what I've indicated at the end of my right side of this template, the status. Either ongoing, not yet started. And you can do this for all the areas that you have audited. I've given only 3 areas as an example. That's why I'm saying e.g. example. E.g. employee records, e.g. performance management. And you can see the people responsible, the timelines, the resources required, and the status for each of them. So that it's very easy for us to pick out areas where we are lagging behind when it comes to implementation. So we will talk about implementing this corrective action. 1 is create an action plan, which I've just projected. 2, communicate clearly to the various stakeholders as to when, where, who will do the implementation. And then allocate the resources that I've mentioned, the budget, which is financial, tools, which is physical resource, and the staff, which is human resource. Where need be, you train relevant staff. If it's a computer system that you have recommended in your actions, train staff on how to use the computers. Or if there are people who are trained, conduct refresher courses so that they can remind themselves of on how or about what they are to do. And then lastly, you monitor progress. And as I indicated, implementation requires three things. One, allocation of resources. Two, assignment of duties. And three, monitoring progress. So monitoring progress ensures that we are on track. What are the best practices in reporting? And again, we mentioned some of this yesterday. Involve all the stakeholders from different departments. Two, focus on prevention, not curing. We want to prevent this, not just taking corrective action. We want to take proactive measures in our audit. And then again, you must get the buy-in of top management. That is why we need to involve them from the inception. When we think of the audit, the senior managers must be brought into the picture because we need their commitment in terms of resource allocation and their own personal time. Tracking progress, and again, this is a very important thing. We shall never know or establish the health of the way we are doing things unless we track progress. What are the tools that we use? One, dashboards. These are like portals where you post progress reports or logs. You monitor how many times people have logged into this system to determine their level of usage. Or you have a checklist where you will be ticking the boxes that this and that has been implemented completely. Review and adjust where the tracking has identified gaps, we adjust. By way of improvement, we said that this is a continuous improvement. And lastly, close out the plan. One of us asked if there is a new issue that comes, what happens? And again, this is a project. A project must come to an end. We are not saying that the audits stop, no. One audit comes to an end and another one begins with its unique TORs. And that is why we say there is a closeout of the plan. Once everything has been implemented and verified, it is now time to close it and move to the next cycle. When you review, you are likely to identify new gaps or new challenges, and that becomes part of the new audit process. So those are the best practices that we need to inculcate in our audit process. What are the challenges in reporting? Lack of clarity in reporting, and I said the language that we use must be appropriate. It should not be full of jargons or it should not be vague. And therefore, as a recommendation, use simple, clear, precise language. Two, in complete documentation, we have a responsibility of ensuring that everything is complete. Be it an SOP, complete. Be it a policy, complete. Be it a report, complete. Because when we work on incomplete documents, even our reporting will be incomplete. Thirdly, failure to prioritize. As I indicated, priorities are based on the risks and impact. So if you prioritize non-priority issues, like it happens in institutions that we are aware of, we have our priorities upside down. The end result is failure. There is no shortcut. Delayed communication. And again, we said that good communication is one that is timely. timely that it comes at the time when the information is needed, not late. The moment you report too late, then that report becomes redundant because it cannot be used. Stakeholder involvement, and again, I've emphasized this, that HR department should not pretend that it has all it takes to conduct this audit. Several people must be involved, including people from other departments. And again, if there are no follow-ups, if you don't make a follow-up on your reporting in terms of corrective actions, then again, we miss out because we will not be able to identify any emerging issues, and therefore we may not be able to update. As I promised, we said that there are challenges related to reporting and 2 challenges related to implementation. So the implementation challenges are many. I've indicated lack of ownership. Ownership by who? 1, the department itself. 2, other departments. 3, audit committees. 4, quality assurance. And 5, senior management. So if you don't involve people from the beginning, they will not own this process. 2, I said implementation involves resource allocation. If there are no adequate resources like budget, which is finance, and staff who are trained, then it becomes difficult to implement. And in your recommendation, you should be able to recommend training in our action plans. You train people so that they can implement those corrective actions. Poor root cause analysis, and again, we need not overemphasize this. Our actions must be based on the root causes of the problem and not symptoms. In any change process, there is always a challenge where people resist. So if these corrective actions recommend certain changes, some people are likely to resist. Why do we resist? 1, because we are uncomfortable with new things. 2, we are not sure of the outcomes. 3, we are not adequately prepared. And 4, our culture is rigid and we only do things that we only know. We don't welcome new ideas. That is why we resist. And then unrealistic timelines. Again, we go back to the SMART element: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Set realistic timelines, not too short and not too long. Weak monitoring. Again, we need to continuously monitor our implementation of the corrective actions so that 1, we identify emerging issues. 2, we identify challenges. And 3, we identify deviations. And lastly, we should be able to ensure that we balance on our priorities, balancing. If there are competing priorities, then we end up not prioritizing well. So ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our presentation this morning. And I now want to again invite all of us to ask any questions that we may have, make their comments, or make their compliments as and where applicable. The floor is ours. Anyone can go first, or you can raise your hand if I can see your hand here.
Mwalimu, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Maybe the last slide that you just shared, I think that was the last point that I missed it.
Okay. The last slide is that.
Yeah, lack of management support. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I've noted it down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Somebody with a question? I want to hear questions. If no questions, that you can make a comment to test our understanding. Felix, have I heard your voice today? Evelyn Mwangi, if you are there, please ask your question or make your comment.
Mine is good morning.
Good morning.
Mine is to appreciate the presentation. There are a lot of insights, and also moving forward, there'll be a lot of improvement on how we carry out our activities and audit.
Thank you very much for your comment. I really appreciate that we have done a good job and that you are identifying insights or key takeaways that you can use to improve your HR audit. Keep Tarbay, if you can make a comment so that we can close.
Yes, Malimu, thank you for the presentation. We really appreciate. This is where the theory meets practice.
Yes.
This is also where the boardroom meets practice, because at times we have a tendency of believing what we have been doing as the best practice,
yes.
Without going forward towards working in improving ourselves.
Yes.
Maybe my last question is, at the end of this course, does it lead to certification in human resource audit? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that you are keen on converting theory into practice, that whatever happens in class, this is where theory meets practice, that we need to convert this theory into results. Or sometimes we are boardroom people, we talk and talk, and sometimes we don't see results. So we move away from the boardrooms to actual implementation and realization of results. I want to leave the question that you have posed to Dan so that he can answer that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Odari.
Thank you.
Yes, now, these particular presentations have been brought to you or to our participants in modular format. Module 1, Module 6. Most of the participants here have already paid for the certification, the online certification. Currently, we are having this particular certified human resource auditor. We are having it in Naivasha. The people who are participating in the physical activity will end up having the certified human resource auditor certification. But considering we noted that most of the people present in this webinar were not able to attend that training because of the cost related factor, because the certification cost was 70,000, we said, okay, fine. For purposes, since at the academy, we are always learning, why don't we bring our people the same course in a modular format for one CPD point for every module. So what you will get is you'll get a certificate for every module. That is, again, if you've paid for the module. If you've not paid for the module, you'll still benefit by having attended and listened and learned. But then you will not have something to showcase that you learned something. If you're interested in having the certification, for those who are participating online for this particular, for the certified human resource auditor, which has 6 modules, they were paying 35,000 for that. So you'll choose either to keep the module, which is all right, to participate for free without paying anything. Again, it is very good because at least we've made an impact in your life by bringing this particular very important course on HR audits, how it is done, at the areas of improvement which we need as HR professionals to do on our part, or you could choose to go the extra mile and seek the certification. You become a certified human resource auditor. You've already done the journey by the end of the afternoon because you would have covered 6 modules, which are the requisites for the certified human resource auditor course. Actually, the same items that we've undergone here are the same items those who are participating in the main course. This is what they've covered. This is what they are covering. So I shared last time, and I could share this again on the chat, that I don't know. It is all right. Now, what happens is that you are now aware, you have the information, you'll choose what to do. The certified HR auditor is there for you. The module certificates, you still have that. For those who've paid, you've gained yourself 1 CPD point. If it was the main course, the certified human resource auditor, that was 6 CPD points. So, Mr. Odari, back to you. I think I've answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Sorry, a follow-up question. Just a minute, a follow-up question.
Who is asking?
Yes, Kiptarbey.
How are you, Mr. Kiptarbey?
I'm good, sir.
Very good.
Yes, assuming that we have paid for the modules.
Yes.
Which is close to assuming it is 15,000. That is an assumption.
It is not.
Yes, I'm saying an assumption.
No, it is not. It is 7,500 for 6 modules.
Okay, now, assuming we have paid for not certification, but for attendance and the 1 CPT points.
Yes.
And we have paid that amount. In case you want to convert it to certification, will the other amount be subtracted from the extra?
Yeah, that would be the right thing to do. That should happen.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, and there should be no problem. Something else I want to maybe emphasize for those who are new participants with us. We've been doing training for the past this should be the 10th year. Since 2017, actually, our first course was HR audits. It was a 3-hour program at Kenya Comfort Hotel, one evening. That was on either March 3rd, 2017. We've been doing that. We partner with IHRM for purposes of accrediting all our CPD programs. Okay? When it comes to the certified courses, if you go on our website, yesterday I tried to share that and it misbehaved. Let me see whether I can be able to share that. Mr. Odali, what am I sharing?
Yeah, it's there. Yes.
No, I'm saying, am I sharing the entire screen or am I sharing a document?
I think you are sharing a screen.
That's what I wanted. I want to share this entire screen. Yeah, there we are. So hopefully I'm sharing my the website achrp.org. Confirm that.
Yes, yes.
Good. So you click login. You can see where login is. The color is golden or orange. So once you click that, it takes you to our website. I want to show you how to access your certificate very fast. That's my email. The password is, you'll always find this indicated there, ACHRP 2025. That's a hint for you that you are supposed to sign or you are supposed to type ACHRP at 2025. Otherwise, if you click login, it can't work because there is nothing typed there. You have to type it. ACHRP, sorry, ACHRP at 2025. There. So when you log in, this is what you get. Actually, my name is Dan Peters Ngozo Kadito. I'm a certified human resource professional since 20. Actually, my admission number for certification was number 85. So I was among the first people who took up that certification. Now look at this. When you log into your portal, you add on take courses. So whenever you find we've shared a link for you to enroll, you don't have to follow that link. Log into your account and add on take courses. I usually say that this particular website or this particular learning management system operates like a supermarket. There are so many courses here, but they are not yours, but you can look at them. Actually, if you want to find out more about a particular course, just click on the course and there will be information regarding that course. See what I've done? That shows a lot of information. And you can actually download this particular item. It's already signed. Then I clicked on the course title to bring this document. It is a PDF document. Then, so I said you don't have to follow the other method of clicking on the register here link. You can actually log in, come to take courses, then look for the course that you are interested in. I'm trying to say, so I'll take any course here. So assuming I'm interested in this particular course, number 1. So once I check the box, it will show the amount payable. And I can actually download the pro forma invoice. It shows the pay bill number there, the account number, where to enter the transaction code and submit. If you are not paying for a course and all you need to do is to attend the training, don't go through this process because eventually I'll delete your registration. Why? Because I would be expecting to find an M-Pesa code, not something that I want to attend for free or any other statement. Since we've already shared the link for attending, just click on the link and attend. Now, if you want to get your certificate, this is where you do this. Now, once you've done that, or after the course has ended, certificates are released usually by 4 p.m. So you'll go to my courses. You see, I have an admin portal where I find all registrations. Once they are approved, they go to my courses. So why I said this is like a supermarket, it becomes my courses now. My courses. And so they are your courses. You can interpret this in vernacular, my courses. So this is where you'll find your certificates. Like yesterday, we had analyzing HR functions and spotting improvement areas. Don't ask the trainer for the notes. The notes are there for you. You just click the login, click on view on the under my courses. Under this column for presentation, there is view now. This is where you click view now. And you are able to see, to get to this point, this is the presentation we had. You can scroll down and learn all these beautiful materials at your convenience. And these notes are yours forever. As you've seen from our tech courses, we've been doing trainings since 2017. The years are redacted so that they are able to fit here. But you could see from 2018, we were still there doing trainings, a lot of them. So we are in 2025 and we are still doing courses. So I've shown you how to, when you're on my courses, how to view the presentations. And if you're interested in looking at the recording, you click, I don't know whether you could see where my cursor is pointing. This is the video on the left panel. There is play there. And at the comfort of your laptop, whether in the office, you could put on some earphones if that is permitted, but you could also listen to the entire presentation. Those are the activities I'm doing in the backend. And if I move it a bit, you could listen to so I've shown you that. And the one last item I should tell you is that we got, I'm trying to find that. Where is that? I'll find it. But we actually got an award for this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, yes.
Kindly go back on how to access the recordings. I missed it, kidogo. I had some interruptions. Kindly.
Don't worry, it is all right. There we are. I'm logging in. And you could also do something else, which I've always done. I have bookmarked most of the websites that are very important for me. You see here, all these are my bookmarks. It is very important to bookmark what is of interest to you. And so I have gone back to login. Login is indicated, is at the point where there are those QR codes, login. So you don't have to sign up. Okay, and I need to point out something that I saw yesterday. Stick to one email address. So when you are, say, on the training calendar and want to register for a training, stick to one email address as your point of contact. Reason, anytime you use a different email, it creates another account for you. So you will be having a lot of problems trying to access your courses because you have to be moving from this account to this other account. So when you stick to, when you stick to one email address, like I've done, I've always been able to, when I log in, I'm able to see all my courses. The courses I took in 2024, there. sorry, I go to my courses. The courses I took in 2025, I've taken so many. The courses I've taken in 2024, they are there. And I could also see the courses I took in 2020 there. So sometimes instead of having so many certificates printed in your house, attracting cockroaches and dust, just leave them on your portal and access the certificates when you need them. Now, somebody asked a question yesterday, privately, about for me to access my certificates, do I go to my certifications? Let me clarify something. My certification is different from, certifications are different from a certificate. Certifications are all courses that read certified something, like certified human resource auditor, certified workplace counselor, certified human capital coach, certified human resource manager. These are certifications, for instance, that I hold. And I'm able to access the certification now. That is why this page is my certification. I'm able to access the certification for each of these. Now, what certifications do, once you attain a certification, you are able to refer to yourself as a certified human resource auditor. You've seen IHRM say conduct a training on certified human resource auditor. Reason, we have an MOU with them for them to conduct these certification programs. I'll come back to answer the same question, but before I forget, I need to show you something. If you go to our accreditations, before logging in, you are able to see the IHRM certificate. If you click on the image, it will become bigger. We have to renew this annually. You have to see our NITA certificate. We renew this annually. And if you look at this clearly, all those certifications are there. You will not find any other trainer with this kind of certificate from NITA. NITA recognizes that those certifications belong to us. And so this is the certified human resource auditor. You look at that. It is registered by the government. And for what purposes? Under class 16, for printed matter, letterheads, and stationery. I'll explain what that means. If you are a consultant, or one day you want to go into a consultant, or if you sometimes prepare your business cards, and you need to indicate you are a certified HR auditor. That's why the issue of printed matter comes in. Business management, and then certification of HR professionals. You see that? So we certify HR professionals in this particular discipline of certified human resource auditor. This is a certification. The registered proprietor for this certification is Academy of Certified Human Resource Professionals. So therefore, no one else in Kenya is authorized to offer this certification other than ourselves, because it is a registered, we've patented this, it is a registered trademark. And maybe before now, I forget, we have 14 of them. Under each one of them, there is a certificate. It involves a rigorous exercise. You need to open each one of them to know what it is. Like CWC is a certified workplace counselor. And under each certification, there is a program with modules before you are conferred that certification, before you are given the right to call yourself certified HR auditor or a certified, this one should be certified talent management professional. And this one is certified human resource consultant. Before you call yourself all that, you have to undergo this particular certification program, like the one you've undertaken. So what you are doing is not an exercise in futility. It is something that is recognized. So I am back signed in. So you go to my courses. My 2025 courses are there. Under this column for presentation, and by the way, I want to show you something else. When you are renewing your membership for IHRM, it shows you 2025, the number of courses I have, 18, the number of CPD points I have there. It also shows you something else. Print 2025 CPD activities record form. Okay, so if I click on this one, it will open. I don't want it to save there. It will open a document known as are you able to see what I've printed?
Yes, I can see it from my end.
See, 2025 CPD program. Saudari, you are able to see the form?
Yes, I can see the form clearly.
Then everybody can see the form. So this one shows the number of trainings you've attended. Instead of picking your bio pen to fill the courses in the DAI, then I went for this other one. The system has already done that for you. All the courses you've attended are there. All you need is to print that form and sign. There's even that for date is pre-filled for you, the date you've printed. You see, today is July 4, 2025. So all I am supposed to do is to sign. Then I'll submit this to my IHRM portal. We've done this for purposes of simplifying the hassle. You know, HR professionals are very busy people, and they don't have to be tired to undergo that hassle of completing those forms. Again, instead of printing single certificates, by the end of the year, you can print an entire record of your certificates. Like if I click print 2025 CPD activities, I'm able to see all my certificates for 2025 merged together, not one. So instead of picking one, scanning it, and so on, which is again a little problematic, you can have them accessed at this point. You see now, all my certificates are there. Can you see that? All my certificates are there. And I've noted something which again I needed to check, which is all right. Now, so we are back to view now. This page is divided into two sides. There is a left panel and a right panel. On the right panel, this is where the video and the presentation displays. So when you go to view now, you will find the presentation displayed there for you. You go through the material by scrolling down or up. And it opens very fast. There is no delay. You just click view now and there it is. Okay? Don't try to download it. They can't download. You try to do this because you see again, knowledge is free to listen to read, to do whatever, but this is someone's work. So if you've paid for it, it is yours. You'll be able to see it. You can reference it. You can pick materials from there, but you have to extract that. Now, we would never want a situation whereby we are trying to present the same course, for example. When somebody among our attendees says, "Hey, these guys are getting materials from the internet. I already have these notes." No, that is why also for all of you, realize that these are materials, maybe they sounded new, although we've had these trainings so many times. Now, If you want to view the video, on the left side, there is a module titled Video Presentation. So you can click on play. So the part for presentation changes now to video. And you click play, and there you are. You are able to you can be able to you can listen to the video. And when you are tired of listening to the video, you go back to open presentation. Again, your presentation comes back. That's how it works. And when you like it, you can leave us a review by clicking at this point. Post a review to our profile. Well, we would appreciate that. Otherwise, thank you very much. And Mr. Odali, if you are still there, I will stop sharing so that you can be able to close the meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks everybody for your participation. I'm very happy for your contribution.